the silence of your struggle, your rebirth is quietly being written. Have you ever noticed that the loudest people are usually the weakest? The strongest ones, the real ones, are the ones you barely hear from. Because silence is not empty. Silence is strategy. Silence is strength. And silence is the stage where transformation begins. Reset, restart, refocus. Let silence rebuild you. Just do this. This isn't just a catchy title, my friends. It's a call to arms against everything that's been quietly breaking you. If you've been drifting, doubting, or drowning in noise, today is the day you turn everything around. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a chaotic city, sirens blaring, people shouting, lights flashing in every direction. It's overwhelming. That's your mind right now. You're trying to think clearly, make decisions, move forward. But the noise is stealing your clarity, hijacking your peace. You start believing lies just because they're repeated louder and more often than your own inner truth. That's how most people live, drowned out by everything around them, forgetting who they are underneath it all. But then imagine stepping out of that chaos and into a quiet, empty temple deep in the mountains. No noise, just space, just stillness, just you. That silence, that's where your real strength begins. Many have been told that silence is weakness, that if they go quiet, they'll be forgotten, that if they stop explaining, stop chasing, stop justifying, they'll lose everything. But that's a lie. A lie built by a world addicted to noise, a world terrified of introspection. The truth is, when they stop speaking, when they stop reacting, when they disappear into their own growth, they don't become weaker, they become dangerous. As Epictetus said, silence is safer than speech, not because you're hiding, but because you're evolving. In silence, they stop being who the world told them to be. They stop playing roles. They stop explaining their worth to people too blind to see it. Instead, they get to work. They begin the process of burning down the old and building something the world isn't ready for. The world won't understand at first. People might ask, what happened to them? Let them wonder. Let them feel your absence and start realizing they never deserved your presence in the first place. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It returns like a storm. And when they come back, they won't come back the same. They'll come back unrecognizable, sharper, calmer, and louder, without saying a word. And let's not pretend this is easy. It's not. Cutting ties with old versions of yourself, walking away from people who don't understand your silence, refusing to engage in meaningless noise, that takes strength. That takes courage, but it's necessary. Growth isn't a gentle process. It's a violent unlearning of everything they've been told to believe about themselves. So if you've been feeling lost, numb, or tired of the noise, listen to me now. The answer is not louder effort. It's focused silence. It's disappearing to work on yourself so hard that when you return, they have to reintroduce themselves to you. Let this moment be your line in the sand. Let this be the day you say, I'm done explaining, I'm done reacting, I'm done being drained. It's time to rebuild quietly, ruthlessly, unapologetically. The world will notice, but only when it's too late. Write it in the comments right now. I'm rebuilding in silence. Let the world know you've made your decision. Like this video, hit subscribe and stay with me, because this is just the beginning. What's coming next is not just advice. It's a war strategy for your soul. Now take a breath and say it with me. Rebuild in silence. Number 1. Reset. Burn the noise. Cut the cord. You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying there. Let that quote sink in for a moment, because some of you have been underwater for far too long, not because life pushed you down, But because you got used to breathing beneath the surface, used to the weight, used to the noise, used to the chaos, you forgot what stillness felt like. You forgot what freedom tastes like. And now you're standing in front of the mirror trying to remember the person you used to be before the noise took over. Imagine this, a computer overwhelmed with files, applications, and tabs left open for months. It's lagging, glitching, barely functional. You could try to close a few tabs, delete a file here and a program there, but eventually, you know what it needs. A reset, a hard reboot. You unplug it, hold the button, and everything goes dark. For a second. That silence, that darkness, it's not the end, it's the beginning. That's what you need. Not a patch, not a fix, but a reset. But here's the lie you've been sold. That resetting means quitting. That letting go means failure. That silence means defeat. My friends, nothing could be further from the truth. Resetting is what warriors do before battle. It's what kings do before rebuilding their empire. It's what survivors do before becoming legends. They don't reset because they're weak. They reset because they're dangerous when fully recharged. So why don't more people do it? Why do they hold on to things that are clearly poisoning them? Because fear wraps itself in familiar chains. It whispers, what if you need this later? What if they come back? What if you're wrong? But let me ask you, what if the weight you're carrying is the very thing stopping your wings from opening? What if the people you're clinging to are the reason you forgot how powerful your presence was when it wasn't being poured into everyone else? What if the very thing you think you can't let go of is the anchor that's been dragging your potential to the bottom of the ocean? As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And it starts with a decision to cut the cord, to silence the voice that says, stay, explain, wait. No, not anymore. Resetting means walking away from the noise, not just the noise around you, but the noise inside you. That endless loop of what ifs and should haves. The memories that replay like a broken cassette telling you you're not enough. That you missed your shot. You didn't. You're still breathing, aren't you? Then there's time, but not if you stay in the static. This is going to hurt. Yeah, no sugarcoating it. It's going to feel like you're deleting a part of yourself. But let me remind you of something. What you're deleting isn't you. It's a version of you that was built in survival mode. And you're not here just to survive. You're here to thrive. You're not deleting you. You're deleting the virus that slowed you down. So start cutting. Cut the ties to that memory that plays too loud. Cut the ties to that voice that never believed in you. Cut the ties to the fake friends who only call when they need something. Cut the expectations, the guilt, the weight that was never yours to carry. Burn the noise. Let it turn to ash behind you. This isn't rage. This is rebirth. This is where silence becomes sacred again, where every second becomes a deliberate act of rebuilding. This is your moment to reclaim your peace, like a lion reclaiming its territory. You've been quiet for too long, but not the right kind of quiet, the defeated kind. Let's flip that. Let's make your silence a message. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them hear your absence louder than your words ever were. Now is the time to make the cut. Say it with me. I'm cutting the noise. Write it in the comments. Show the world. Show yourself. Let that affirmation become your battle cry. Burn the noise. Reset your soul. And get ready, because what's coming next will be your return from the ashes, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to become. Number 2, restart. Become the architect of a new you. And suddenly you know it's time to start something new and trust the magic of beginnings. Here's the truth, my friends. Resetting is only the beginning. It clears the rubble, sure, but restarting, that's where the real war begins. And I say war because that's exactly what it feels like. Starting over sounds beautiful until you realize it means stepping into the unknown. It means building again alone. It means holding a blueprint in your hand that no one else can read, trusting your vision when there's no applause, and laying down bricks while your legs still shake from everything that tried to break you. But let me be blunt. Restarting is not weakness. It's not failure. It's not going backward. Restarting is rebirth. It's the silent revolution of the soul. The decision to stop patching broken things and build something so solid, so powerful, that even the old version of you wouldn't recognize it. Imagine someone tearing down a house that's been infested with termites. People driving by might say, "That place used to be beautiful. Why are they tearing it down?" But what they can't see are the cracks in the walls, the rot beneath the floorboards, the hidden damage. So the owner does what must be done. They demolish it because they don't want to live in illusion. They don't want to keep fixing things that were never meant to last. They want a foundation that holds. That's where you are. You've torn down the past. Now it's time to rebuild. But the moment you lay that first brick, the doubts will show up. The fear will whisper, "You've done this before. You failed. What if this version of you still isn't enough? What if you mess it up again?" And to that I say, let them whisper, but don't let them win. Because restarting isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you still believe, that you still have fight in you, that your story isn't over. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." You can't carry your past into your future like a suitcase full of regrets. If you're going to restart, you have to do it with both hands free. Free of guilt, free of shame, free of people's opinions. You can't rebuild a life and keep the ghosts as roommates. You have to evict the old you. And don't think for a second this is going to feel good. Restarting isn't glamorous. It's not some Instagram-worthy glow-up. No, it's gritty. It's lonely. It's showing up day after day when nobody is clapping for you. It's laying the next brick even when no one sees the wall yet. It's bleeding in silence and sweating in shadows until one day you look around and realize, I built this, I did this, and nobody can take it away from me. The Stoics weren't born strong. They became strong through loss, through hardship, through starting over. They didn't complain about what they lost. They got to work with what they had left. That's what real warriors do. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. So, if you're at that point where everything feels stripped away, where you're not even sure who you are anymore, good. That's the perfect place to begin. Because now you can rebuild with intention, with clarity, with power. Every decision from here on out isn't about getting back to who you were. It's about becoming who you were meant to be all along. This is your blank page. No more writing chapters with someone else's pen. No more building based on other people's approval. This is your story, your foundation, your rules. You don't need validation. You don't need consensus. You just need to move. And here's what I want you to say right now. I'm rebuilding stronger. Write it in the comments. Show the algorithm. Show yourself. Show the world you're not done. You're just getting started. Because the world doesn't get to decide when your story ends. The critics don't get a vote. The doubters don't get a say. This is your moment. Pick up the hammer, lay the brick, trust the process. Because what you're about to build is going to be unshakable. And the silence you're building in, that's the most dangerous part. Because when you return, the world won't see you coming. Stay with me because next we're going deeper. Number 3, refocus. Tunnel vision on the mission. The successful warrior is the average person with laser-like focus. Let's get something straight right now. Most people aren't failing because they're not talented. They're not losing because they're lazy. They're losing because they're distracted. Their minds are stretched in 100 directions, pulled by people, notifications, temptations, and garbage that has nothing to do with their purpose. They're busy being busy but not productive, not locked in, not focused. And that's the silent killer. Because when you don't know what your mission is, everything becomes your enemy. Everything becomes urgent. Everything becomes noise. You scroll, you compare, you chase, you try to be everything for everyone and end up being nothing for yourself. But those who win, the warriors, the ones who build legacies that echo after they're gone, they don't dabble. They don't juggle 1,000 things, they burn away the fluff and go all in, laser locked, loaded. Imagine a magnifying glass under the sun. It can't burn anything unless it holds still, but once it focuses, it sets the world on fire. That's what your mind can become, a weapon of total power. But only when it's focused. Only when the noise is cut, the distractions are dead, and the path is clear. But let's be real, it's not easy. In a world built to steal your attention, choosing to focus is like swimming upstream with weights tied to your legs. You've got ads flashing at you, people messaging you, drama calling your name, and that little voice in your head saying, "Just take a break, just relax. You've earned it." No, my friends, you don't need a break. You need direction. You need clarity. You need a mission so clear it makes everything else irrelevant. You need to wake up, look in the mirror, and know what you're building. Otherwise, you're just existing, and that's not what you came here for. Epictetus said, "First, tell yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's focus. That's discipline. That's the kind of inner alignment that turns the ordinary into extraordinary. But too many are still waiting. Waiting for motivation, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to say, "Okay, now you can go after your dream." But guess what? No one's coming. No one's going to knock on your door and say, "Hey, I see something great in you." That's your job, your responsibility, your mission. And when you finally choose it, when you zero in and say, "This is what I'm doing no matter what," everything else starts to crumble around it. The doubts, the distractions, the people who don't understand you, they fall away because now you've given your life direction. Now you've given your soul something to aim at. But here's the lie people tell themselves: "I can do everything." No, you can't. You can't chase your purpose and your comfort at the same time. You can't chase greatness and also chase validation from people who don't even know who they are. You can't walk toward your destiny while constantly checking who's watching your journey. Focus demands sacrifice, and that's why most never taste success, because they're not willing to give anything up for it. But you're different. You're still here. You're still listening. You're still fighting for that version of yourself that's been buried under years of noise. So strip it all away. Log out. Mute the world. Let your silence speak louder than your scrolling. Every time you feel the urge to distract yourself, stop and ask, is this feeding my mission or killing it? Because every click, every conversation, every ounce of your energy is an investment. Don't invest in distractions. Invest in domination. Let people wonder where you went. Let them talk. Let them assume. While they chase approval, you chase alignment. While they burn out, you burn with purpose. So now I want you to write this down in the comments. I'm locked in. That's your declaration, your affirmation. Say it loud. Say it clear. You're done wandering. You're done wasting time. From this moment forward, you refocus, you build, you sharpen, you dominate. Tunnel vision, unshakable mindset, warrior energy. Stay with me, because next we're going even deeper into the silence that makes you unforgettable. Number 4. Silence is the sword. Let it speak for you. Never assume that loud is strong and quiet is weak. The lion never roars while hunting. Silence isn't weakness. It's not emptiness, it's not defeat. It's a weapon, a sword that cuts deeper than words ever could. Most people don't understand this. They're too addicted to noise. They think silence means you're broken, that if you're not posting, not replying, not explaining, you must be hurting. But what they don't realize is that silence is the place where the most powerful transformations take place. Because when you go silent, you're not retreating, you're reloading. Let me give you a picture. Think of an archer. When they pull back the bow, there's tension, stillness, silence. But the silence isn't hesitation. It's precision. It's power. It's preparation. And when they release, that arrow flies faster, harder, and more accurately than any loud shout ever could. That's what your silence becomes. Aimed, intentional, deadly. But in this noisy world, silence makes people uncomfortable. People fear what they can't read, what they can't predict. That's why the moment you go quiet, others start panicking. Are they okay? Why haven't they reached out? What are they thinking? That's the power. That's the control. You've shifted the energy without saying a single word. They've been taught that explaining themselves is a virtue. That closure comes from conversation, that everything has to be talked out. But that's a lie built by people who fear your silence because it forces them to sit with their own noise. Let me break it to you. Not everything deserves your words. Some things deserve your absence, and some people only understand your worth when you stop handing it to them on a silver platter. You don't need to announce your next move. You don't need to justify your growth. You don't need to explain why. You're pulling away from the people who never poured back into you. Let your silence say it all. Let them feel the shift. Let the empty space between you echo louder than any argument could. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And the best response sometimes is none at all. Silence isn't about being passive. It's about being unavailable to nonsense. It's the discipline to not react when everything in you wants to lash out. It's restraint. It's power. It's owning the moment without performing for it. And yes, it's going to be hard. Silence won't always feel strong at first. At first, it feels like you're losing something, like you're walking away from a fight you could have won. But what you're really doing is refusing to fight battles that don't deserve your energy. You're choosing power over chaos. And trust me, in time, they'll feel it. They'll feel your absence like a storm that never arrived but still destroyed everything. They'll replay the last thing you said, wonder if you're watching, question if they were wrong, and they won't have answers. That's the beauty of silence. It forces others to have the conversation with themselves. It's the loudest message you can send without making a sound. And here's the part they didn't see coming. While they're obsessing over your silence, you're growing in it. You're sharpening. You're rebuilding. You're becoming so solid, so grounded that when you finally decide to return, you won't even need to speak. Your presence alone will shake the room. So now it's your turn. Step into your power. Withdraw. Disappear from what doesn't serve you. Cut off the noise, the explanations, the fake connections, the empty conversations. Let your silence become your message. Let it build curiosity. Let it build respect. Say it with me and write it in the comments. My silence is power. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them regret. While you become the version of yourself that doesn't chase closure, doesn't beg to be understood, doesn't break under pressure, you rise quietly. You build silently. You return unstoppable. Stay with me because the next phase is when your silence turns into healing, into focus, into fire. We're just getting started. Number 5. Emotional detox. Heal in hiding. Rebuild in shadows. Don't heal to be accepted by them. Heal to never need them again. Let's get one thing clear. Not everyone deserves access to your healing. Not everyone should get a front row seat to your comeback. Some people only showed up for your collapse, for your chaos, for the version of you that bled out just to keep them comfortable. And now that you're choosing to rise, you owe them nothing. This next chapter isn't about posting progress. It's not about broadcasting your growth. It's not about sharing your pain with people who only listen out of curiosity, not care. This is your emotional detox, and it's happening in silence, behind the curtain, far away from the noise. Because real healing doesn't happen under a spotlight. It happens in the shadows. Quiet, personal, sacred. Imagine this: a warrior wounded after battle, not dead, not defeated, just bleeding. They don't return to the field right away. They don't stand in front of the crowd to explain what happened. No, they retreat to a cave deep in the wilderness, a place where no one can reach them, where the healing begins, where the strength rebuilds, where the armor is reforged. And when they step back out, they're not just healed, they're reborn. That's where you are, and that's where you need to be. Not talking to everyone about how you're getting better. Not over-explaining why you're distant, but disappearing. Withdrawing, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You're done giving your energy to people who didn't value it when it was freely given. You're done explaining your pain to people who handed you the sword in the first place. You think you need closure? You don't. You think you need to explain why you're pulling away? You don't. You think they'll finally understand if you say it the right way? They won't. And here's the kicker. It's not your job to make them understand. It's your job to protect your energy, to protect your soul, to create space so you can detox from every emotional parasite that drained the strength out of you. As Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And healing, my friends, takes courage. It's not pretty. It's not poetic. It's raw, messy, full of days where you feel like nothing's changing. Full of nights where the silence feels suffocating. But what you don't realize is that silence is your sanctuary now. It's the furnace that's burning off the weakness. It's the soil where your next self is growing root by root beneath the surface, invisible to the world, but unstoppable when it blooms. People may ask, why are they so quiet? Let them. That's silence. That's you resetting your nervous system. That's you cutting off the voices that made you doubt your worth. That's you learning how to sit with yourself again, without the noise, without the drama, without the toxic validation loop. You don't owe anyone vulnerability who never offered you safety. Read that again. If they couldn't hold space for your truth, if they used your struggle as a weapon, if they only loved the version of you that served them, then they have no place in your rebirth. This healing is not a performance, it's a revolution. One breath at a time, one boundary at a time, one silent day at a time. You don't get strong by shouting your pain. You get strong by facing it in silence. That's where the real growth lives. That's where your next level begins. Because when you emerge from this, when you walk back into the world, you won't need to prove a thing. Your energy will speak for you. Your discipline, your stillness, your peace. That will be your new language. And trust me, they'll feel it before you even say a word. So let them wonder where you went. Let them miss the old you that constantly gave, explained, and chased. That version is gone, and in its place is a force, a presence, a soul that doesn't need validation to exist, doesn't need closure to move on, and doesn't need noise to feel alive. Say it right now and write it in the comments. I'm healing in silence. That's your affirmation. That's your weapon. That's your wall of protection. You don't need applause. You don't need recognition. You need quiet. You need space. You need this. Stay with me because next we're going to talk about what happens when they start feeling your absence more than they ever felt your presence. And trust me, they will. Number 6. Let them wonder. The psychology of pulling back. Your silence will teach them more than your words ever could. There comes a moment in your journey where words no longer serve you. Not because you don't have something to say, but because you've said it all and they still didn't hear you. You poured out your truth. You opened your chest. You gave them access to your mind, your time, your loyalty. And they treated it like background noise. So now it's time for the most powerful move you can make. Pull back, disappear, go silent. You want to shake them? Don't argue, don't explain, don't beg to be seen, just stop showing up. That silence, it's not absence, it's a mirror. And in that mirror, they're finally going to see what they were blind to when you were always available. Your silence forces them to do what your words never could. Reflect. See, they were never scared of losing you when you were always present. They were never anxious when they could hear from you at any moment. But take that presence away. Remove that access, and suddenly the room gets colder, the phone stays silent, and the ego starts trembling. Why? Because they're no longer in control of your attention, and attention is the currency of power. Imagine a spotlight. The second it moves off the stage, the performer starts panicking. They begin questioning their worth, their performance, their place. That's what happens when you go silent. When you take your energy and walk away without warning, without drama, without announcement. It confuses them. It unsettles them. It disrupts their narrative that they had you all figured out. But here's what most don't understand. Pulling back doesn't mean you're playing games. It means you're protecting your peace. You're reclaiming your power. You're no longer handing out front row tickets to a show they never appreciated. You've closed the theater, the performance is over. And the silence, that's the standing ovation they'll never forget. And yes, they'll start to wonder, they'll replay every interaction. They'll start to see your value because it's no longer accessible. They'll talk about you. They'll ask mutual friends. They'll even test the waters with a just checking in text. But don't flinch. Don't respond just because the silence is getting loud. That's exactly where you want it. Because what they're feeling now, that uneasiness, that confusion, that curiosity, that's power shifting. That's their mind doing the work your presence always prevented. When you're too available, you become predictable, and predictable never gets respect. Mystery gets attention. Distance creates desire. Silence builds suspense. As the Stoics understood, power is never loud. It's never desperate. True power operates in stillness. It observes. It watches. It lets others reveal themselves while it holds the line. That's what you're doing now. You're not reacting. You're reclaiming. You're not running. You're rising. And don't let the fear trick you into thinking you're being cold. You're being clear. You're done over-explaining your worth. You're done trying to make people see what they chose to ignore. You're done lowering your volume to keep the peace. Now you are the peace. And that means silence becomes your boundary, your answer, your teacher. They'll start realizing that the absence of your voice leaves a void they can't fill. And here's the part that stings them the most. They'll realize it too late. When the doors are already closed, when the access is gone, when the version of you that once reached out has evolved into someone who no longer needs to. So don't chase. Don't clarify. Don't shrink just to be understood. Let them sit in the silence and feel what it's like to not be able to reach you. Let the silence educate them. Let it echo. Let it haunt. Because the longer they sit with it, the louder it gets. Say it with me and drop it in the comments right now. Let them wonder. That's your new mantra, your new power move. Let them replay, rethink, regret. While you build in silence, you grow in solitude, you transform in the shadows. And when you return, you won't even have to say a word. They'll feel it. They'll know. Stay with me, because next we're going even deeper into the hidden grind that no one sees. The dark room where discipline is born and power is made. Number 7. Discipline in the dark. When no one's watching, you build power. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of will. Let's get real, my friends. Everyone wants to be seen winning. Everyone wants the spotlight when it's time to shine. But what separates the powerful from the forgotten is what they do when no one's clapping, when there's no audience, when the silence is loud and the grind is invisible. That's where discipline in the dark comes in. That's where legends are made. See, most people only move when eyes are on them. They only go hard when they think someone's watching. They only chase goals when the motivation is high and the results are fast. But the moment the applause fades, so does their work ethic. So does their fire. That's why they never become unstoppable, because their fuel comes from outside of them. But not you. Not anymore. Because what you're learning now is that your silence isn't just your protection, it's your training ground. It's the cave where greatness is forged. It's the gym with no mirrors, no music, no fans, just sweat, grit, and pain, the kind of pain that most people run from. But you show up for it. You live in it. You become it. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone in the dead of night. No one sees the hours. No one sees the dust. No one sees the mistakes. But the sculptor doesn't need an audience, because they can see what the stone will become long before anyone else does. That's discipline. That's doing the work when no one's looking, trusting that one day the world will. But here's what makes it hard. You won't feel like it. You'll be tired. You'll be bored. Your mind will beg you to rest, to pause, to give in, and no one will be there to hold you accountable. That's the test. That's the threshold. When no one is pushing you, will you still show up? When it's not glamorous, will you still grind? Because here's the truth. Discipline is built in the boring, in the early mornings, in the lonely nights, in the repetitions that feel pointless. But every rep is carving out a new version of you, one that doesn't rely on hype, one that doesn't need validation, one that is unshakable. And don't expect results right away. That's another lie this generation loves to sell. That success should be fast, sexy, and obvious. No, it's slow, it's painful, it's invisible for a long time. But every drop of sweat, every quiet sacrifice, every ignored distraction is compounding. Quietly, powerfully, silently. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. In other words, stop overthinking. Stop debating and start doing. While they talk about goals, you work on them. While they dream about greatness, you're building it, brick by quiet brick. Discipline is the decision to keep your word to yourself, even when no one else would. No, if you quit, that's real strength. And that's where your power will come from. Not from who cheers for you, but from who you become when it's just you, your purpose, and the silence. And let's not lie to ourselves. It won't feel glamorous. You'll feel like you're being overlooked, like no one notices your effort, like it's all for nothing. But that's how it's supposed to feel. That's how you know you're on the right path. Because when you finally step out of the shadows, when the world finally sees what you've been building in the dark, they won't be able to look away. You won't need to say a word, your discipline will speak for you. So say it right now and type it in the comments with pride. I train in silence. That's your reminder. That's your commitment. That's your new identity. Let them party. Let them Post. Let them pretend while you build something no storm can touch. Stay with me because next, we're going to explore how your silence becomes your statement and how your return shakes the ground beneath those who once overlooked you. The dark is your dojo. Your future is being carved in it. Don't stop. Don't slow down. Train in silence. Return with force. Number 8. Speak without words. When you return, let them feel it. Power is not in what you say. It's in what they feel when you say nothing. There's a moment after all the silence, after all the discipline, after all the nights you stayed hidden, that you come back. But not like before. Not needing attention. Not searching for approval. You return and say nothing, because now your energy speaks for you. Your presence shakes the room. And the best part? You don't need to explain how you got here. You embody it. See, the loudest ones are usually still trying to convince the world of something. But you've been quiet for too long to care about convincing. While they were shouting to be seen, you were becoming someone they couldn't ignore even if they tried. Let me paint the picture. A volcano doesn't warm the earth before it erupts. It simmers in silence beneath the surface. Pressure builds. Heat rises, quiet, still, until one day, boom, the mountain speaks and everything changes. That's you. That's what you're becoming. Your silence hasn't been weakness, it's been pressure building, shaping, evolving. And now when you walk into a room, they feel it. They can't put their finger on it, but something's different. Your posture, your stillness, your eyes, that calm, unshakable energy. That's what silence does. It doesn't make you disappear. It makes you undeniable. But here's what they didn't expect. You wouldn't need to say a word. They thought you'd come back and explain yourself. They thought you'd return begging, defending, apologizing, proving. Instead, you return as the storm they never saw coming. And all the things they used to ignore about you, they're now obsessed with. Your distance, your restraint, your lack of reaction, it all becomes mystery. And mystery is magnetic. People notice the change. They whisper. They watch. But they won't say it out loud. Their pride won't let them admit that your absence taught them more than your presence ever did. That your silence spoke the truth louder than any conversation could. They feel it deeply, and that's the win. That's the revenge. That's the return. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You don't come back bitter. You don't come back with a scorecard. You come back better, and that's what ruins them, not your rage, but your radiance. Not your arguments, but your evolution. You come back looking nothing like the version of you they discarded, doubted, or disrespected. You come back so focused, so refined, so sure of who you are that their opinions feel microscopic next to your self-worth. You no longer need their validation, you've replaced it with your own vision. Let's make one thing clear. This isn't a performance. You're not pretending to be okay. You're not faking confidence. This isn't a mask. This is the real you. The version that grew in the shadows. The version that kept showing up when no one saw the progress. The version that built in silence, bled in silence, healed in silence, and now speaks with presence. So let them stare. Let them stumble on their words. Let them feel the weight of your transformation in their chest. You don't owe them a script. You don't owe them a breakdown of your journey. Just walk, just live, just be. And let your actions whisper everything they need to know. And if they come back, if they reach out, if they suddenly remember your worth, don't rush to respond. Don't rush to explain. You don't have to be cruel, but you do have to be conscious. Ask yourself, are they here for who you've become? Or are they chasing the ghost of who you used to be? Protect your peace. Protect your silence, because now It's sacred. You earned it. Every quiet hour, every hidden grind, every private moment of rebuilding created a version of you that no one saw coming. And now you owe it to yourself not to shrink. So say it with me and write it in the comments right now. I let my presence speak. That's your power. That's your code. From this point on, let your silence be the foundation and your presence be the thunder. If this lit a fire inside you, if you're ready to rebuild and rise quietly but powerfully, drop a comment saying, "I'm rising in silence." Smash the like button, share this with someone who needs it, and make sure you're subscribed. Your journey is just beginning, and the transformation ahead is going to be monumental. Embrace the silence, let it guide you, trust the process, and remember that every step you take in silence is a step towards your true self. The world will see the power of your growth when you finally step into the light. So keep moving forward, keep building, and keep rising. You're on the path to becoming the best version of yourself, and nothing can stop you now. Stay strong, stay focused, and let your actions create the legacy you wish to leave behind. The journey is yours, and it's time to embrace it fully.